Now that we're moving on to color, it's time to select our color palette for our brand. And there's more than one way to find your color palette. Outside of typography, color is the biggest component of strong identity design. And just like a logo, they have to be able to work well in many different situations. We need to set up and establish a color palette system for the brand. And I'm going to go over several ways you could start to brainstorm these color selections. Remember the brand style presentations or stylescapes we put together a few lessons ago? We can use those as jump starts for helping us select our final brand colors. We can pull out colors from these photos using the eyedropper tool, or going to a website called color.adobe.com and selecting colors from the photos that way as well. And picking out colors can be really easy for you, but finding the right array of colors in the entire color palette, including secondary colors and other shades and tones, it might be a challenge for you. But there's a really great resource. It's totally free, that color.adobe.com website. If you go over to Explore, you'll be able to explore a lot of different color palettes put together based on certain keywords. So remember all the keyword research we did before? This is why we do it. Now we have some words to go on. So let's go ahead and type in fresh. See what comes up. So there might be some really interesting fresh color combos. Some of these are bright and some of these are not so bright. So this one's kind of more one that is derived from nature, which is not really what we're offering. We have sushi, and I'm not seeing a lot of green in what we offer. There's also some that are not necessarily based in nature, so it's interesting to kind of look. Maybe this one right here. All of these, ooh, this one's really nice. This one's, I wouldn't necessarily call this one fresh, but I love the muted colors. It has a very traditional, nice vibe to it. So as I'm going through these, I'm getting some ideas. You can even save these color palettes. You can download it as a JPEG and use the eyedropper tool and any program that you use to be able to sample the colors. You can even add it to your library if you are an Adobe subscriber. You can add it directly to your library, which is really helpful. So what are some other keywords? Authentic. This might be hard. I don't know how many tags there'll be in color palettes of authentic, but we're going to give it a try. So authentic, the biggest thing I'm noticing is a lot of deep, rich colors when it comes to authenticity. Darker colors tend to be more stable. They're more stable. Yellow is more energetic and bright, but unpredictable. And then deep colors like blacks and grays, they're more dependable and stable and consistent. So this is interesting. I think I would like to incorporate kind of some darker color palettes into my design. And so you can see I'm just making notes, jotting down notes, just like I did with sketches for the logo design. I'm doing it with color. If there's any one particular color I like, so this I like a darker color with a blue. That's nice because blue, if you look at the psychology of color chart, and you can download this as well in the course, is blues tend to have a lot of trust. And remember trust being one of our words as well. And I bet you never thought that picking color palettes, words would be your best way to pick color palettes, but that's exactly what we're doing. We're using words to help us derive and think through color palette selection. So I think maybe a darker blue might somehow be involved. So we used authentic, we used fresh. Let's find another word to use. I'm going to do a word that's more directly related to what we do. What about food? And all of a sudden the color choices get really vibrant and really bright. And I almost wonder if we can type in sushi. Let's just be direct here and type in sushi and see if anyone else has come up with other palettes that relate to sushi. Oh, this is interesting. Let's see what this looks like. What a bright, fun, vibrant color palette here. You can even see the inspiration right down here of where they got the colors from. It's interesting. This is a great idea, is deriving a couple of colors from the raw sushi colors themselves. Because if you look at raw sushi, they're very colorful. There's a lot of different colors when you look at sushi presentations and plates. And I think that could be the source of some of our color palettes for our color template. Just like we did with the logo concept, we need to brainstorm and study our competitors' colors. What have they done? What does the industry as a whole do? Is there certain colors that are associated with your industry? So for example, the color green is associated with finance, and red is a super popular color to use with food because it stirs up one's appetite. If you study color psychology, red is used by tons and tons of fast food restaurants because it does entice and increase one's appetite. So it's interesting to think about that aspect of color too. There is some kind of psychological reason for your color choices. Once again, it's not developed at random. So if I look at some competitors as typing in sushi at Behance, I also went to several sushi places and I noticed a theme of the color red. It was red, 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 red. I don't think I went to a sushi place that didn't have red as its major color. And that's interesting because I do associate sushi restaurants or Japanese restaurants with the color red. It's in the Japanese flag. Red entices appetite. It's a very strong color. So I'm going to take a look at some of these competitors. That's a really, really neat. I love the illustration they used here, but they kind of have, they're not using white. They're using an off-white. And what it does is it doesn't make it as stark. The contrast is slightly lower and it adds a softer feel to it. So instead of using bright white, they used a cream off-white color. And notice they're not using black, they're using a very dark gray. Again, kind of helps to lighten the color palette. Here's another one, Japanese Kitchen, Karai. And they're using kind of a dark color palette choice paired with a red vibrant choice. And loving these illustrations as well. So getting some ideas for brand assets that we're going to have to do here later in the course. See how they did this pattern? And we'll go over this a little bit more detail, how to expand your logo design to have inspiration to find some of these little assets that we can use, these brand assets to create menus. So very high contrast. So you have really bright colors with really stark white and black colors. Here's another example of red being used and kind of a dark gray or black. Love what they did with the sushi items down there. Very, very high end. Even more so than our brand will be. As you can see, red, black, dark gray. I'm seeing tons of red. So it makes me go, do we need to stick with red? Because it's commonly associated with sushi. When you think of sushi, you think of red. It's something to think about. I'm going to write that down in my notebook. All of the things we've just kind of discovered. I have a couple of color swatch ideas, including a very, very dark blue, and now maybe perhaps red. And also the thought of deriving my colors from raw sushi. That could be interesting if I downloaded photos of all the raw sushi that's on the menu and see if I can't take the eyedropper tool to find a whole color palette that way.